everyone, it's Linda McKenna from Golden Rules Senior Placement Services coming to you today with Tuesday Talks. There's a lot of acknowledgments for the month of September, and one that's really, that affects a lot of us and me personally with family and friends and a lot of my clients is Alzheimer's. And it is Alzheimer Awareness Month throughout the world. And no time better than starting this month off with talking about Alzheimer's and acknowledging it, bringing awareness, and praying and having faith in a cure. And what that we need to do to support the Alzheimer's Association and a lot of fundraisers that happen during this time of the year and especially the month that could go to a lot of research and science of Alzheimer's. So what we're going to talk about is actually how it was recognized, Alzheimer's, and how it affects and how we can support our senior loved ones with it. To give you a little bit more in-depth history, Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia. So a lot of people say, oh, they have Alzheimer's, but actually Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. It's the umbrella. Affected about 6% of the people 65 and older. Although it may seem like just typical disease for older people, it is in fact not a normal part of aging. Scientists don't know what causes Alzheimer's, but they can suspect it is a combination of many factors. The disease affects parts of the brain that control memory, thought, and language. There is no cure, but experts think that knowing blood pressure, exercising, and not smoking may reduce the risk. Let's take a closer look at this event and learn more about the disease. Believe it or not, Shakespeare wrote about it back in the 1500s, late 1500s and early 1600s, where William Shakespeare mentioned the loss of mental acuity in old age in some of his great plays, including Hamlet and King Lear. Alzheimer identified the first case. German psychiatrist Alois Alzheimer's identified the first case of what would have later become known as Alzheimer's disease. The patient was a 50-year-old German woman. World Alzheimer Day was first observed back in 1984, announced the first World Alzheimer's Day to be observed on September 21st. But now we're actually doing it for awareness for the month of September. 5 important facts about Alzheimer's disease. It is a killer. About 1 in 3 seniors dies with Alzheimer's or another type of dementia, more than breast cancer and prostate cancer combined. 2, deaths are increasing. Since 2000, deaths from Alzheimer's disease have increased by more than 100%. 3, Alzheimer's will affect more and more Americans. If current projections are accurate, by the year of 2050, the number of Americans suffering from Alzheimer's disease will reach nearly 14 million people. 4, women are most likely to be affected. Statistics show that about 2/3 of Americans with Alzheimer's disease are women. 5, Hispanics are more susceptible. Statistics show that the Hispanics are about 1.5 times are as likely to have Alzheimer's disease or other dementias as older white non-Hispanics. Why World Alzheimer's Month is important? 1, education is our best weapon. If we stay ahead of the process in Alzheimer's disease and really arm ourselves with more knowledge that we can give others to recognize facts and onset of it, then or some of the cues that some elders are experiencing, we could treat it early onset and we can have maybe a better outcome than ignoring it all. So if we we educate ourselves on the disease process, the more that we could have prevention, but more importantly, that we could gather together and support one. 2, it affects millions. In 2015, Alzheimer's resulted in the deaths of about 1.9 million people. It's one of the most costly diseases. I see that because, quite honest with you, with a lot of Alzheimer clients that I do have, ones with dementia, unfortunately, it requires 24/7 care. So the care at home, if it's a caregiver, that's a spouse, they need a break, so they have to pay for care. They can't leave that individual alone. Placement in senior living or memory care communities tend to be a little bit more expensive than that of assisted versus memory care. So it is affects a lot, and it is mostly costly disease because there is always somebody there that needs to observe and take care of somebody with Alzheimer's. 3, there is always hope, and I say faith. as much as there is no cure, there's always hope for a breakthrough. That's why it is so important to stay informed. World Alzheimer's Month is a big way to keep the conversation going. How to observe World Alzheimer's Month. 1, get involved. Many Alzheimer organizations offer toolkits in which you can help spread the word. For example, you could print and distribute material. 2, make a donation. There are several ways to contribute to Alzheimer's groups. You can donate monthly, or you can give a one-time gift in the name of someone you love with a so-called tribute donation. That's the Alzheimer's Association. There's actually family organization of the Alzheimer's Association. So there is many associations or groups that you could contribute to. 3, volunteer as an Alzheimer event. Consider participating in an Alzheimer walk. There is many going on the last quarter of this year, of the year, and it's starting, honestly, in September about the Alzheimer walk. So gathering a group and honoring somebody maybe that you lost or somebody that's experiencing Alzheimer's, and those monies go to the research and to the foundation to support others that's afflicted with the disease. Perhaps you could volunteer to take part in clinical trial. There is a lot of clinical research companies that are separate from that of the Alzheimer's Association, and participating in a trial early on, they could measure your progress as well. Nothing to help the next generation is more wonderful than that. But finding a local chapter of the Alzheimer's Association is wonderful. There is so many things that they do for the community, especially for the caregivers. There's support groups, there's educational, there is talks about how to exercise, what good foods are, and along with somebody that is in the advanced stages of Alzheimer's, and to recognize it as well too, and to be there part of assisting somebody on that journey. For a side note that I did some research on it, I have to say managing somebody at home with Alzheimer's is very difficult. What hours are important? What hours of coverage are important? It is a 24/7. Realize a lot of them do have sundowners, and I'm sure this term has been very much spoke about. Sundowners is that somebody is sleeping all day and then up all night, which is the reverse of what's normal. So the caregiver is opposite what is normal. So of course they're up all night long and not able to do their chores during the day. There's wonderful home care companies that come into your home that do custodial and companionship care for your loved one to give you a break. Maybe it's as simple as walking the dog, or it is going out shopping for you, or just giving a break to the caregiver so they can do their chores or even take a nap, really and truly. I always recommend, when I do recommend home care companies, I always recommend those that are licensed, bonded, and insured. All honesty, getting a private caregiver or a subcontract is not something that I recommend for obvious reasons. But more importantly is to make sure you do your research on who you hire in your home. And then also, I highly recommend placement of an individual that is afflicted with Alzheimer's. Don't wait to the bitter end. That is not part of the journey that you want them to experience. Going to a memory care community is wonderful. They're still stimulated. There is still activities. They are with likeness of other individuals as well. But what's great about it, it's not in existence, so it's something that they look forward to the next day. There's exercise, as I said, activities, meals served. It really gives the spouse and loved one a big break, and a lot of times that they are depleting in their own health because they're taking care of their loved one in so much detail. But there is wonderful memory care communities within assisted living, and which is separate. It is secured, so there is no elopement. But more importantly, there is also what they call residential care homes. So it's a home-like setting within a residential home, and memory care residents could be in them as well, as it is secure and it's a more home-like environment. So if that's something that you like to look upon and navigate, I'm there with you to suggest, because I do believe licensure of these facilities, communities, and homes are very important, because as somebody progresses, you want them to be able to age in place as well. And there is so many resources that we could tap into, financial support as well. So this month and always, if you know somebody that's out there that's a caregiver, give them a break, be there for them, just giving a phone call to them and say, you know what, I made an extra meal for you and your loved one and I'm bringing it over, or I'm coming over to sit with Mary while you go out shopping, and to just give you a little bit of break. Make sure that you do that as a friend and as a family loved one. But more importantly, not only being there for support, but recognizing that in your friend, if that's somebody that you see that is forgetting or is really not safe to be at home alone any longer, maybe reach out to a family member or to their doctor, some that you recognize being their neighbor and their loved one. So this way there could be intervention as well. So that's being a good friend and a good neighbor and a good family member. As always, if there's any questions, please contact me. My website is www.goldenruleseniorplacement.com. And there you will find a whole host of my demographics, but a whole host of information, which is the various options that we just spoke about, some resources, and a whole host of these videos, which I call my library there, in ways of getting in touch with me as well. I look forward to serving you and serving your loved one that is afflicted with Alzheimer's. It is a hard disease to process, and seeing your loved one to go through, because it does affect you as well. I'm there for you during this journey, and more importantly, let's make it a good journey for your loved one too. Thank you for viewing Tuesday Talks. And next week, we are acknowledging Assisted Living Week. And with that being said, we're going to talk a little bit about assisted living and what you should know about it for your senior loved one as well. Thank you. Have a blessed week. And remember, World Alzheimer's Month should not only be recognized for this month, it should be recognized every day. But by now, have faith and have a blessed week.